What's up? So I realized that my channel kind of went from me living in Victoria to getting married and then having one baby and then having another baby, but I never really went through the process. And the babies are napping right now, so um, I'll be fine to create this video. So yeah, so we moved from Victoria, right? Or well, we started the process of moving from Victoria as soon as we found out we were expecting another baby, and that was just because we knew that moving to New Braunfels, Texas, would create more opportunities for higher pay for my husband and myself. And yeah, once we transitioned over here, we already had a job in line for him, and that job happened to pay 30,000 extra dollars. So with all of the expenses that we had living in Victoria, like we had two vehicles in addition to his work vehicle, and then we had, all these other bills added up. In the last year, we were able to eliminate a lot of that debt and get our monthly bills, like what our monthly bills are, to a much less number than what they were in Victoria. And that was kind of like him and I, living as single adults for that 1 year we met before we were expecting. Like he went out and was like, I'm gonna buy a motorcycle, brand new motorcycle, or we would just be buying trips left and right, or putting everything on credit, and we paid it off finally. That left us with two things that we had to do. I told him before we left Victoria was, number one, he got his job way in advance, so I'm not worried about that. It was selling our house. Number two was me finding a job. So those were the two things. And of course, leaving my current job in a way where, I wasn't just going to leave everything behind. So the first part was selling the house. That finally sold on my birthday of this year, which was like 3 weeks ago. So we did have to pay the mortgage for it still for several months after, about 5 months after, but it did pay off because we finally sold it. We broke even, but that's good because it wasn't going to mess up our credit. So I'm happy that we just sold it for what we owed just to get rid of it. It did have a lot of repairs, and when I initially invested in it, I thought we were going to have the time and money to invest in our old house, but we got pregnant like literally back to back with our two kids. So when we moved in, it was in February of 23, and then that summer he proposed to me, and that same summer we found out that we were expecting our first kid, Finn. So then fast forward to the following fall, I found out I was expecting again, and that came as a huge shock. So we were about to have two kids, and the house was big enough because it was like 4 bedroom. I mean, it was, depending on how you look at it, the 2 bedrooms on this side, and then it had this huge other side of the house that was converted from a garage into an apartment. And I'll post pictures of the house right now. So this was the house on the outside, and then I'm going to post a few pictures of what I was talking about. This was the living room, dining room, and then of course the view from the kitchen. And then right outside the kitchen, as you keep going, this is the room that was converted into the garage, and then there was a back room just like this one is. Fixing up the house didn't happen because we had other things to take care of, and just the way that, things how they fell in line. So he applied for the position over here, the job over here, and he got it within a few months. And as we were trying to figure out what I was going to do, me not working was never out of the question until we decided, okay, actually, after we eliminate all of our debt and after we looked at what daycare costs were, we both realized that it would be just as financially intelligent or financially in our favor to stay at home, for me to stay at home with the kiddos, right? So, I mean, even if I did go to work, it'd be like we'd break even maybe a few thousand, but it wasn't worth it in the end. In truth, being there with my kids has been a huge blessing. And I'm so lucky that James and I were able to work it out to where that became a possibility. So we were able to eliminate our debt, um, and we were able to get our life fixed to where, okay, even down to the apartment. The last question is where we were going to live when we moved up here. And he actually got a position where we get the apartment half price. So everything worked out beautifully. He does have to work here as called a courtesy officer. So if anybody has complaints or something going wrong, they call him, and they leave it on a different line. So he gets it. He gets like the update. It's not his actual number, but still. New Braunfels is actually 2 hours away from Victoria. So moving here wasn't hard at all. That put my family they were 3.5 hours away. And actually now they're 4.5 hours away. So I guess you go another way through San Antonio rather than the route that I would go. And his parents are just 2 hours away. So it's not like we moved really, really far, to be away from everybody. So if I absolutely need something, my parents can be here relatively quickly, and same for his parents. So the distance is not, that terrible. Actually, being a stay-at-home mom, I thought at the beginning, okay, I'll have all this time, I'll have, things to do and all this extra time that I can do all these things. Absolutely not. It feels like I have less time than I had before while I was working full time and still taking care of my son. So, yeah, it's just having two infants, babies, because my son's a year and a half. Yes, he's considered a toddler, but he's a baby. And my baby, who's 3 months old now, she demands a lot of attention, and so does he. So the time that I do have, which is, far and in between, I have to choose what am I going to do with this time that I'm given now. Okay. And that might be the laundry, that might be do all these other things, or exercise by putting my health first. And then of course I also cook here at home a lot more. But I will say what has helped me get through the transition of being a working mom to a stay-at-home mom, that has been creating routines, right? So we wake up at a specific time every day, and usually it's my son who wakes us up. I give them both breakfast, make sure that they both have milk or whatever. He'll ask me, because he says over 50 words. He knows what he wants, and he's good at communicating that with me. He will actually ask me what he wants for breakfast, and I'll give him whatever that is. And then we take our morning walk right after they have breakfast, so that I'm able to get some steps in, and then they have a change of scenery. They both actually really look forward to our walks. How do I know this? Because my little girl can go from crying from being in the house, and as soon as we step outside, super happy. Like just looking at me, all smiles. And then as soon as we come back inside, crying again. So that's how I know. And currently my husband is working nights, so we'll come in, we'll have maybe 3 to 4 hours to do the laundry, I like to teach them stuff or read to them or play with them in their playroom. And then sometime within that 3 hours, they take their hour-and-a-half nap. And then my husband usually wakes up around 3 p.m. To get ready for work. And I do have his lunch/dinner prepared for him. And he's good about just taking whatever leftovers are there for his dinner. So I usually make extra for that. And then by the time food's ready, the babies are awake. So my son will just sit in his high chair and eat that with us. And you have to learn how to create these routines, and just because they help you mentally and they help the babies mentally. Finally, before I end this video, I want to end on a positive note. And that is something that I would say as a mom, what I've learned. And I've learned that, children are here to help slow us down, and they give us a new perspective on life. They help us have helped me value time more, and those moments that I spend with them I consider sacred. That's because in that moment that we have is truly all there is, and they're never going to be as young as they are today. And that goes for every single day of their life. That day that I'm focused on nurturing them, spending time with them, that's the youngest that they're going to ever be. And I also pray for more grace, because sometimes it is hard to care for both babies at the same time. I'm giving myself credit because I know it isn't easy, and the fact that I've had to reset my mind on being career oriented to being family oriented, and just focusing all my attention on my children has really, really helped me. So I look at every day that I spend with them as a blessing. And instead of being upset with my husband, like, oh, you get to go to work, I look at it as, you're giving us this opportunity to where I don't have to send our kids to daycare. I can be here with them. And so when I cook and clean, I do that not with resentment, but with actually feeling a sense of gratitude. Like, I'm the manager of the house. This is my job. I don't get paid for it, but the payoff is not money. There's things in life that make you wealthier than money, and this is definitely one of them. I am ending on that note. So that was kind of my, transition video from going from a full-time working mom to a stay-at-home mom. And it's definitely just as hard as working than it is staying at home, because at home, like, my mind doesn't shut off either way. When I went to work, I knew at this time I had to be in bed. I had to be, relaxing and resting. But here it's like 24/7. The baby's crying. I'm the one that responds because my husband has to go to work, or if something happens. So it's been difficult, but I believe, like all difficult things, it has a great, great payoff. And in the end, I am extremely blessed. And this time that I have with my dear children, I know if I was working, I could never have it back. So I'm also very, very grateful for that.